talking. Right. Okay. So, right. So most of you already know me and really my vision as a health care sort of bodywork therapist is really to create a positive narrative of self-empowerment of our health by understanding what our bodies are telling us and how to improve our health and well-being, mind and body, by bringing this relationship between the mind and the body. And I would like you just to have a little think for a moment now about how empowered you feel, scale of 1 to 10, in your own health. So 10 being the highest, you've got this, you know what you're doing, and 1, haven't got much of a clue. So just have a think and sort of make a note of that. Okay, so now imagine being in a mindset of empowerment, knowing and believing that your health is in your hands, that it's your responsibility, and it's through the embodiment and the connection of your mind and body. So it's known, very well known, the placebo effect, and it's been very recognized in the medical industry that actually, unless the drug that they're testing or trialing is better than the placebo effect, doesn't really get released into the public. Now, placebo effect is also known as hope. That's effectively what they're giving, it's hope. So there's a very powerful shift of health just by holding hope. Now take that placebo effect, that hope, and expand that with knowledge and understanding of your body, empowered with tools and techniques and therapies, and just imagine the possibilities of your health and your body from taking it to that next level. You know, and I'm a huge fan of bodies. This is what I do. It lights me up and excited about it. But, you know, our bodies aren't machines, okay? They're not simply controlled by this matter up here. You know, they are amazing. They're beautiful creations which still defies knowledge and science to date. They are a wonder and they are miracles in themselves. So just take for a moment and just let this sink in, that you are a miracle. You are already a miracle. So just let that come in, because we often put so much stress of what we have to achieve. You're already achieving by being you. So when you look at your body with awe and wonder, you start to truly acknowledge your greatness and that you're enough the way you are. And you start to build this intrinsic relationship of your mind and your body with respect and self-acceptance. And I often see this, and I've seen it with myself, and I've seen it with working with clients, that actually when we come to a space of self-love, we actually start this healing process. And I put it into an anagram of love. So to listen and to observe our bodies. So we start to listen to our bodies to understand what the white flags that might be coming up into our bodies that are highlighting there's an imbalance and where it needs your love and your attention. And then we start to use the mind and we start to visualize, and we actually generate neural plasticity in our brains. We start to change those pathways through awareness of thoughts and of our being. And then we become empowered. So those listen, observe, visualize, empower spells love. Sorry, that's saying the obvious there, but that's really what the message that I want to try to bring about. And I really envision that I'd like to do these talks once a month and bring in other like-minded individuals to come into a platform to be able to share what they know, to basically have a like vision of empowering others. So today, springtime, liver time. The reason why I've chosen the liver is because it's actually this key time of when the liver's functioning. So the key functions, well, there's about 500 functions of the liver at the moment. There's even more they're finding each time. But one of the main ones is actually the detoxification of our body. So it's like removing of the toxins that become poisonous on a cellular level if they remain within the body. and this will cause dysfunction and implications of our health. So we all know the spring clean, we have this sudden urge to start to spring clean our homes. We suddenly get this urge of energy that we need to get rid of stuff and declutter and find more space and light and clean. We'll all be suddenly seeing all these cobwebs that you've not seen before in winter, and all of a sudden you're just kind of opening a space, and it starts to give you this more joyful, lighter energy. I know I certainly feel this difference of shift from winter to spring. I suddenly start to feel a lot happier. So I realised we've been a bit miserable in winter, but it's kind of, you feel that lighter mood, and you start to see this budding of opportunities, planning and creating. So, and that's very much what the liver is involved with. So our minds, we're doing this surge in this physical space of decluttering, but our body's doing the same as well. And that's when the liver really comes in. And the Chinese element, the elemental theory, actually puts the liver as springtime. So the liver is really coming to its own in this sort of springtime. It's really starting to increase its functions. So we'll often find that if there's an imbalance of the liver, it will really start showing itself right now. So this is why it's key to really understand what the symptoms are of an imbalance of the liver, to understand that what you need to do to go and improve it and support its health. So I'm just going to go through now just the sort of some of the functions that the liver goes through and what those little white flags might be if it's not functioning. Okay, so in case you don't already know, the liver is like one of the largest organs apart from the skin, and it's heavier than the brain. And it actually sits in the lower part of the ribs on the right-hand side, up to like the nipple line. And then across, it gets smaller as it goes across to the left side, sitting just above the stomach. So it's a huge organ. So it takes up a lot of space. And if that's not functioning and it's not moving, because every organ has a mobility and motility, it has like a, it needs to move to function, but it also has something like what we think of this spinal fluid. It has this rhythm. Each of our organs have that rhythm, that frequency. So you can imagine if that's getting stuck, it's not going to be able to work to its optimum of its function. Okay, so the liver actually stores iron, vitamin B12, folic acid. So all these key nutrients are very good for our hair and nails and skin. So again, if you're seeing like poor skin, flaky, or you know, there's little dots on the nails, poor hair, that will be again linking to the liver's not functioning. So again, it's a little flag there. So cholesterol, 3/4 of your cholesterol gets produced in the liver. The rest just comes from animal products. And cholesterol isn't bad. It's got a lot of bad press, cholesterol, but it's very key for the functioning of our cells and our organs. It's when it becomes out of balance. And it's actually the nutrients that come back from the liver to the cells, to the organs, and back to the liver to then be replaced and to be rid of. Bile, as we know, is produced from the liver, and that consists of the water, cholesterol, and bile salts. And it's essential for our digestion and our absorption of fats and the vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, which is also supported alongside the pancreas for our digestion. And the liver breaks down these proteins to be absorbed, which is very fundamental for the formation and cell repair. And bile as well, it deodorizes our feces, so fecal matter. So actually, when you have an imbalance of the liver, you have rather smelly poo. Okay, so I know poo can have a rough sort of smell to it, but this is when it becomes offensive. And so that again is like a white flag. And I think I had to get poo into this because I have 2 children, 2 boys. I love to talk about poo, so I had to just bring that in there. So there we go. But so yeah, understanding your poo and what's going on there is a real big element of gut health and understanding. But if it smells a bit, there's something going on with the liver. Okay, so the other sort of key functions of the liver is to actually produce sex hormones, so the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And actually one of its tasks then is to eliminate excess amounts of estrogen. So if there's too much estrogen in the body, it will actually start to irritate the liver. It causes inflammation for it. So when we have this inflammation going on, it will come through as, for us ladies, it's PMT, sort of PMS symptoms, mood swings, and if you're going through the stage of menopause, you can actually start to increase that level of inflammation in the liver, which brings on other symptoms, which I'll mention. And actually what the liver does, it uses the cholesterol of the liver to get rid of the estrogen. So a byproduct is cholesterol. So again, there'll be a symptom of higher cholesterol if the liver isn't functioning to its optimum. Okay, and then because of those sensory nerves that sit and serve the liver, sit within the shoulder and the neck, we can often get this inflammation and nerve pain around this whole area of our body because of the nerves that are feeding the liver. So often when you've got the problems with our liver, we'll get frozen shoulder or periarthritis, and that again is due to that inflammation, which unfortunately good old menopause can escalate those issues as well. So us ladies do get it with the liver. So actually liver for menopause is another topic in itself, really. So, and going back to the Chinese element theory, the liver is linked to the element of wood. So if you think of wood being fuel to the fire, it's when the liver is irritated and inflamed, it produces heat. So one of the examples, for instance, if we've got a virus or an infection, we get a fever, and that is the liver escalating that heat to be rid and be free of these toxins. You'll also get it if people drink too much alcohol, for instance. You get these people that can't feel the cold all of a sudden because they're intoxicated with alcohol. That's because the liver is being inflamed through the alcohol. And again, back to the lovely menopause and hot flushes is again another symptom of that. So it's that heating element that comes through from the liver. So the liver doesn't just have a time of year. It has a time of day or night actually, and that's between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So if you have, again, a dysfunction or imbalance of the liver, you will see disturbed sleep patterns. You'll see them especially between those hours of 1 and 3, but you'll also see so you get the hot sweats and the disturbed sleep, but you can also then be waking up in the night needing to go to the toilet because the liver is working and pumping out those toxins which go to the bladder, and then it irritates the bladder. So then you start waking up needing the toilet. So that again is really a symptom. If you're waking up at night, if you're getting hot flushes, hot sweats, irritable, or even not having sleep that doesn't provide rest, so you still wake up in the morning feeling rubbish and tired, again, that is another symptom of the liver, which is why hydration is so important, which I'll come to in a point. So that is really how it works physically. I mean, like I said, there's like 500 plus functions of a liver, which I'm certainly not going to sort of go into today, but that's the physical. And with everything that's physical, there's emotional. So the emotional element of our liver, it's our connection to our deeper self. It's our real deep rooted feelings of self where we hold within the liver. whereas our stomach on the left is more like our relationship to the external world, how we work socially with the stomach, whereas that liver is that deep, deep self. And this is generally where we hold unresolved emotions of anger and resentment, which lay here. Often if it overflows then into the gallbladder, which is what the bile does, it overflows into the gallbladder, but all equally the bitterness that can come, which can cause gallbladder issues. And if we link this to what the chakra system, so is these energy systems, it sits within our solar plexus. So you think of solar plexus, which is represented of fire. Fire, if balanced, is beautiful. It provides us warmth, it nourishes us, it's just feels so open and expansive. But with fire, if it's out of control, it brings in fear. So fear, again, is another aspect that sits within our liver. And anger is very much related to the liver. And if you think of anger, it is like the tip of the emotional iceberg, that underneath the water element, there lays hurt and pain and shame and guilt and fears of rejection. So anger is like the tip of the iceberg. Underneath that is so many, all these other emotions that are going on. And we can have anger imprinted on us, for instance. So when you're a younger child or experiences that you've been in situations of anger, we talk about children being a sponge. We are when we're younger. We're absorbing patterns, belief systems without even actually consciously processing that. So we start to take on these deep-rooted aspects to ourselves, which comes into our liver. And often when we're younger, we haven't got the voice to be able to stand up for ourselves and to express how we feel. So when we haven't had that opportunity to vocalize that this doesn't serve me, this isn't joyful for me, those emotions become stored within the liver, within the body, and it becomes like a constrictive, the cell becomes quite constricted. If it gets over sort of pathways of neurons always feeding those cells, they become constricted, which over time won't allow the oxygen and the nutrients that need to feed it. So it becomes closed. So it's very key about understanding our emotions that are sitting here within the liver. So unfortunately, anger again has bad press because it's seen as a negative emotion. Whereas anger, if it's actually seen with awareness and held with space, it can become quite a positive emotion. It just comes to how we're aware of how we're processing our emotions and what's not serving us. So a lot of us will tend to say, well, I've got liver issues from what you just listed to me, but I'm not an angry person. But it might be because you actually haven't been able to express yourself, or you felt that you weren't able to. So you're trying not to be an angry person, but there's these triggers that are underneath the liver that want to be sort of addressed. I mean, again, if you take the fire element, it's like a smoldering embers of fire that's sitting there in the liver. So they're not going away. In fact, they're producing even more heat over time. Or you can be in the complete reverse of that, and you can have bouts of anger, mood swings, becoming overfueled and triggered. Often people with alcohol will get worse on that because they're triggering these deeper emotions that are within the liver. And we can often become, liver people can be quite over-controlling sometimes. You can kind of have quite opinionated. I mean, I think maybe springtime, there's a lot of opinions out there right now, but it's kind of, it's finding that barrier, that boundary and that balance basically, and bringing healthy boundaries. So acknowledging anger is okay. It's just becoming a trigger of old things that aren't serving you. So I think we're in this place at the moment of things coming through that aren't serving us anymore, aren't serving us joy or purpose. And I just get this vision of us being in an airport lounge, ready to go through security. And they're basically saying, with all that baggage you've got behind you, you're not coming in. And it's really just saying to us, look at what we're carrying, and does it serve us joy or purpose right now? And that's really where we're at. And a lot of that will sit emotionally within our liver. Okay, so that was very much how we are sort of physically and emotionally, and what's going on with the liver, the sort of symptoms, those flags that might be showing up to us to take note and listen to. So I'll just go through a few other little symptoms that the liver will highlight to us and explain that. So again, I've mentioned hot flushes, mood swings and disturbed sleep patterns, and insomnia, that sleep that doesn't bring rest. We get this tiredness, chronic fatigue, because we're not getting the mineral absorption within the body for it to do what we call this methylation cycle, which is this key metabolic rate of providing energy for the body. We get these musculoskeletal issues, predominantly right-sided. We get sciatica because of the fascial connection from the liver down to the hip. We get headaches, migraines because of the toxicity and the build-up here. And also we get, because the liver is involved with the mucous membranes as well. So it's for the lungs, for our pleura, and then for our ear cavity. So if it's overproducing, then we get vertigo, get right sinus issues, and bronchial congestion. So they're again sort of aspects and symptoms of the dysfunction of the liver. And because of where the actual organ is, the liver is wrapped around the portal vein, it can cause a downward pressure, which can be things like varicose veins and hemorrhoids. So again, that's another aspect of issues with the liver. You get hypersensitivity of skin and intense sense of smell. You don't need to do it now, but if you look in the mirror and you look in at your tongue, if there's like a white coating on your tongue, that's often a fungal overgrowth that's happening there, which can cause again, inflammation of the liver, which is this candida growth, which kind of leads into gut health as well. But again, that will be aggravating the liver because it's having to work harder to detox it. And then we get oily hair and dandruff with a dull complexion, you know, and the liver's linked to our eyes. So, you know, we can get problems with our eyes, or we get this photophobia, waking up in the mornings if it's too bright. Again, that can be linked to the liver. And then emotionally, we have these bouts of mood swings, anxiety, levels of frustration, can't find it easy to relax. And you get these bouts of depression and melancholy. So it's kind of, you know, these aspects as well. So that's sort of very much a highlight of what we could be experiencing when our liver's not a happy bunny. And so they're not necessarily seen as a negative, they're just little signs for us to listen to and to become like white flags, sit up and take note of what we need to do. So when you know that, you then have the tools to be able to then help it. So the possible causes of these liver issues can very much be down to poor diet. So processed foods, very little fruit and veg. We often can have digestion issues. So if there's been a lot of antibiotics in your sort of lifetime, that can cause what we call a leaky gut. So if you can imagine the guts as hose pipes, and the medication has kind of worn that away and caused holes, the liver that it's trying to pump out the toxin comes through the intestines to be excreted and out through the bladder as well, but this is for the excretion. if there's holes or leaks in that gut, those toxins come back into the blood system for, again, the liver to have to try and cleanse, to release, to send out. But it's this constant cycle if it's not getting rid of it, which becomes more poisonous within the blood system. So it's becoming more exhausting for the liver. So infections, medication can, really put the liver under a lot of work. And trauma as well. So for instance, car accidents or falling on your backside on your coccyx, that can actually jolt and send shock waves through the body, and the liver is kind of like the absorption sponge of that. So, and if you think of, I was talking about the organs need movement, if it gets stuck in that sort of shocked environment, that shocked way, it's not working and functioning as properly. So again, these aspects could cause what's going on with the liver. And emotional trauma, abuse, environments where it's been very angry and negative, scenarios of being treated badly or perception of being treated badly, and not being able to express one's opinion, one's voice, one's strength and power, that can really affect and come into the liver. So we kind of absorb it deep in there. And right kidney issues, because the liver and the kidneys work together in terms of flushing and detoxing the body. So, most of the time it isn't just one thing, it can be a combination of different things, and that can cause this issue. Okay, so we're coming on to how, basically you can support your liver. Okay, so physically, we need to eat a good diet. We need to eat a healthy and varied diet. So ideally organic if possible, because all the pesticides and fertilizers, they're not, they're basically toxins for the body, which we are absorbing. So it's, again, pushing the liver to having to work even harder. So, and the other beauty of organic food is that it's probably got more minerals and nutrients in it because of the way it's grown. So, we are finding that our food is containing less and less nutrients in it because of overproduction of soil, unless it's done sort of the organic routes. So, and those key minerals that we need, so are magnesium and zinc for our liver to support it in its function. So looking into foods that contain higher levels of magnesium and zinc, so for instance, the organic dark greens, especially cruciferous, so spinach, kale and watercress are really, really good. And things like broccoli, nuts and organic chicken, that's very good for our zinc levels. And then if you bring in things like grapefruit, which helps with the candida aspect I was talking about with the white tongue, but also mango, papaya, berries, they're all very good antioxidants. So, I mean, it's careful, don't go on a complete fruit binge, because again, that does increase natural sugar levels, but everything's about balance, really. And another lovely way of getting magnesium and these key minerals are actually taking an Epsom salt bath. I always recommend this to everybody that comes to me. It's just because it's just a beautiful way of just having time out for yourself, but for your body to naturally absorb what it needs from what you're in. And also the warmth of the magnesium and the body will soften the body and release any sort of discomfort or aches and pains that you may have. And it's really about keeping hydrated is probably one of the key things to do for the liver. Our bodies are actually between 65 to 70% is water, which is pretty much the same as the earth, which isn't a coincidence. So, so we need our water, and actually as we get older, we become more dehydrated. So it's about keeping that up. And a really good practice to get into, which is what I do, is as soon as I wake up, have a hot water and lemon. And that's a very nice way of kind of flushing out those toxins that the liver's been busy trying to get rid of during the night whilst we've been asleep. And the other good thing about the lemon is that actually, even though we see it's acidic, once it's in the body, it's alkaline. So it actually starts to raise our pH balance, which is really key for health, because any disease or illnesses is more the acidic route. So it's about bringing the pH level of the body up to that more neutral pH balance. Okay, what else can we do? So with that water, I can always send this out if anyone wants to. I've got this written down if anybody wants this. If you're busy writing it down and stuff, it's not a problem at all. But the other thing is apple cider vinegar with the mother, which is a mother bacteria, which is again very good with the warm water to help sort of flush the toxins out. And then when you're hydrating throughout the day, you shouldn't get those bladder calls during the night, basically, because it's not being aggravated by the toxins that it's flushing out as much. So you should hopefully get better night's sleep, because one, the liver's not having to work as hard, it's not causing as much heat, and it's not waking you up needing to go to the loo. So you should get better night's sleep, which then hopefully means you don't go to the first drink that you have is a coffee and some caffeine, which, you know, caffeine is a stimulant of the liver again, so it produces heat. So, and there's no coincidence now, because we talk about spring and the liver and how we are connected to Mother Earth and how 70% of us is water and so is the planet. We've also got growing, which we so fondly call weeds, but dandelion, nettles, and sticky weed, which I can't remember what the actual proper name is, but I think sticky weed is probably the easiest one to remember. It's basically, these are all actually plants that will support our liver in its detoxing time, in its spring cleaning. So these are antioxidants that will help support and stimulate the liver. So don't expect you to go out there and go and pick your nettles or anything, but if you go to a health shop, they'll have nettle tea, dandelion, which is much tastier, and milk thistle as well, which is also a very good way of supporting the liver. And now the really good thing, key thing is about gut healing, which again is another topic completely on itself. But if we talk about this leaky hose pipe, the more we can heal the gut, the easier the liver won't be overloaded. We'll be flushing out. So things like chicken broth soup from the bones is really gut healing, that collagen that comes out. You got the aloe vera juice, which you can drink, and probiotics. So it's really about bringing in the good gut flora to line the gut. I mean, that's another topic, like I say, in itself, but if those doing those few key things will really help. And if you can, reduce alcohol, because that really is a toxin first of all, but it's also sterilizing the bacteria in your gut, which you want to protect your gut. And you know, 70 to 80% of our immune system lays within the gut, so it's very key about keeping this lovely gut flora, they call it, this microbiome sort of health within our entire gut. You know, and medication, so I'm not going to sit here to say, you know, you shouldn't be on medication, that's the last thing I will say, but I would always look at reevaluating what you're on with your GP and have that conversation, because, you know, certain medications aren't meant to actually be long term, so don't just be on it because you think you've got to be. Keep having that conversation, keep having the tests that you need to just check if you need to be on them. So so that's just something to bear in mind. And things like those that are living by the sea, cold water therapy. So getting yourself into getting the cold water, which I think a few of you are looking a bit frightful at that point, but it's kind of what that does, it's really like a surge of energy and blood into the organs at that point. And that really kind of supplies all the nutrients that it needs. Or if you don't fancy that, cold water showers, that's again very good. And, you know, things like diaphragmatic breathing is really key, because that really allows us the movement and the massaging of the whole digestion system. So it's encouraging movement and flowing of the blood and the nutrients. You know, and like myself, I mean, I actually work viscerally as well with the organs. So if any of you aren't necessarily sort of able to see me, there's other people like, you know, to go and see someone that does visceral manipulation to work with the organs to help support it, to find back to its optimum function. I mean, so there's lots of different things that we can be doing. And so that's very much working on the physical self-care. But as I touched upon earlier about the emotional aspect, we also have to do our emotional self-care. And it's really, really important. It's really this deep-rooted aspects of ourselves. And it's not just luxurious, having baths and massages and going to the spa. It actually can be quite uncomfortable. But it is liberating when you become free of these old thought patterns and beliefs and traumas and emotions. So it's about finding time for yourself, holding space in a kind and loving space, so not without judgment, you know, hold safe self-love and care to understand and what is unserving right now. What is it that you're carrying that doesn't serve you joy or purpose? And a lovely way of doing that is actually taking pen to paper and writing. You know, try and get out of your mind a little and just allow the pen and paper to let through what you're feeling. You know, you could be swearing on it. You just let everything come out. Don't try and don't let the mind say, well, you can't say that. You can say it. Just go for it. You just let it purge out from pen to paper to mind to heart to liver. Just let it out. And then you can just kind of burn it. Just roll it up, burn it, do it outside. And if you can visualize that burning is the process of releasing your body. You can even, if you're on that mindset of being able to visualize it's coming out of your body as you're doing this burning process. And it's a huge liberating process. I mean, I've been doing this for some time, but there's always stuff that comes up. It's like little layers each time of getting through. I mean, I don't think the body will show us everything at once because it will just be like a big explosion and we won't know what to do with it. But layer upon layer we can work through with kindness for ourselves, and we can start to be releasing of these old unserving thought patterns and beliefs and fears, really. And there's also acts of forgiveness, which, you know, sometimes people can kind of, well, I'm not forgiving them, or it's, you know, there's been situations that are unforgivable. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's not about saying to them, that's okay. You know, you can treat me like that, that's all right. It's not. Forgiveness is about freeing you from those thoughts and those old patterns. It's about releasing them. It's like cutting these cords of those energies and those emotions that aren't serving you and making you ill. And so acts of forgiveness or being willing to start that forgiveness process is really key of letting go. I mean, you kind of think of it a little bit like if it's such a deep anger and resentment for someone that you could possibly think like you're taking poison and hoping someone else will die. Your emotions will not affect that person. They're affecting you. So it's about freeing you from those emotions. And yeah, so that's really how I could go on about that, but I shan't. But it's just very much how we physically and emotionally can support our liver, and it's through awareness and listening and observing our bodies. So, and I have got some resources that can help. So for instance, some of you have already joined the Pajama Revolution, which is my meditation group that I do, which is about connecting the mind and the body and the heart and starting that healing process. I've also got on YouTube some videos there as well. And when I finally finish it, I've got this course that I've got coming together, which is this meditation process of 7 days that you can use as a blueprint And it's about just connecting your mind and your body, and listening to your body, because your body will know. And I try and do this every day, and I literally tune into my body and ask, what does it need today? Or how does it feel? I mean, this last few months, it's been tired, you know, but the other day it's like, I need more water, you know. So become much more intuitive with our bodies, because we tend to live up here too much, and we don't listen to our heart and our gut enough. And, you know, our gut has 100 million neurons there. It has its own brain that's separate to our central nervous system. You know, our heart's 5,000 times the frequency of our brain. So, you know, these are very powerful parts of our body, which we tend to disconnect to, because we're always thinking we have to know, and it's in here, where there's a knowing inside us. So there's lots of different ways, and the more you connect your mind and the body, the healthier and more empowered you will feel. So I think that's probably enough from me, but I will just ask you guys just one more question before I open to questions. Is really, from what I've just done now and following this talk, how empowered do you feel now from this talk? And hopefully more than it was when we started off. But I'm going to literally just now open it up to questions. Yeah, so thank you for listening, being very patient.